Why real-life Vikings were nothing like in the movies. 1. There were female warriors. In 2017, researchers ran a DNA test on the remains of a Viking warrior. The warrior was buried sometime in the 10th century. There were weapons and 2 horses in the mound. Surprisingly, the bones turned out to be female, and she was definitely in charge. Buried along with her were a sword, an axe, a spear, some arrows, a battle knife, and shields. But there was also a war planning board game in her lap. This indicates that she was a military strategist as well as a fighter. 2. The Vikings kept cats as pets. In fact, they brought cats from Britain to Scandinavia. The cats served as mousers on Viking ships. This was crucial to protect the supplies aboard. The first British cats were brought to Norway around 1000 AD. In the 14th century, Crusaders brought long-haired cats. The breeds interbred, eventually evolving into the Norwegian forest cat. This long-haired breed is adapted to harsh northern winters. The original landrace lived in forests for centuries after the Viking Age. They were only rediscovered in the 20th century. 3. Not all Vikings were blonde and blue-eyed. Scientists have sequenced the genomes of over 400 Vikings. These were men, women, and children buried in ancestral mounds. The samples came from all over Scandinavia and elsewhere. They found that many Vikings were not Scandinavian at all. Apparently, it was more of a job description than a matter of heredity. For example, Picts from Scotland and Ireland sometimes received traditional Viking burials. There were also Southern European Vikings. 4. There were Vikings in Greenland, but no one knows what happened to them. Vikings settled Greenland's west coast in the 10th century AD. They formed 3 settlements and thrived for centuries. But sometime in the 15th century the settlements were abandoned. There are various hypotheses on what could have caused it. The most recent one is cultural. Apparently, the Vikings considered themselves Europeans. They were reluctant to adapt the local Inuit apparel. After the medieval warm period ended, they couldn't cope with the weather. 5. Vikings were the first Europeans to discover North America. Eric the Red was the one who founded the first Greenland settlements, and his son Leif Erikson sailed even farther, reaching Vinland. Many historians believe that Vinland was the Viking name for North America. It seems likely they reached modern-day Newfoundland. Leif had invited Eric on the journey as well, but Eric fell off his horse on the way to the ship. He took it as a bad omen and refused to sail. Eric died in Greenland, in an epidemic that killed many colonists. Meanwhile, Leif established a settlement in Newfoundland. His brother Thorvald was killed by Native Americans. Ultimately, Native Americans drove Vikings out of Newfoundland. Leif returned to Greenland. 6. Some Viking burial costumes have Arabic writing on them. This discovery was made in 2017 by Swedish researchers. The garments were found in 9th and 10th century graves. There are numerous Arabic inscriptions spelling Allah and Ali. Historians say this probably means the Vikings were influenced by Islamic ideas. There is ample evidence that they had contact with